On the Wake Up Radio presents The Center with your host, DC Radical One.
Greetings, Black family, and welcome to On the Wake Up Radio. I am your host, DC Radical One, and you have entered the center. Shout out to our wonderful producer, Cindy Ashby. You can check us out on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and iHeartRadio at On the Wake Up Radio. Even more important than that, you can go to onthewakeupradio.com. That is onthewakeupradio.com. And you also can go to the otwtube.com page. That is the otwtube.com page. So, it's been a while since I came on YouTube to do a stream for various reasons. One of which is I still have a community strike that doesn't actually end till next week. And there was a thought of me waiting till next week to do it, but I decided, nah, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. BB for Hodier too, you got ripped off. And so I wanted to talk about something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. Peace and blessings to Brother Crow. Um, and it's the Great Reset. And I actually have done a presentation on it publicly. And of course, that video was taken down. One of them was taken down. The other one was set to private. So I asked a lot of people online, a lot of people who are quote unquote conscious, who consider themselves knowledgeable. And I asked them some questions about, uh, oh, is your born day? You got ripped off? Hey, happy born day, brother. You know what I'm saying? Glad to see you in the building. Um, Straight Black Pride, Sister Nina. See the old crew is rolling in here. And everybody be sure to wish brother you got ripped off a happy born day. As I was saying, um, this topic was a topic that I've talked about before, and y'all let me know if y'all can hear me well. Uh before the Straight Black Rider, brother Desaline. Um is a topic I talked about before, but it's a topic that is considered controversial and basically considered conspiracy theory. And so whenever you bring it up, it's one of those things where you can kind of guarantee that YouTube's going to be like, yeah, no. But what happened is that I was looking at a political YouTube channel, and they talked about it, and I was surprised. I was like, whoa. So I looked at it, and they talked about it very briefly, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I come to find out the reason they talked about it is because Glenn Beck, I don't know the conservative um, commentator, I guess you call him. I don't really know. There's a name I hadn't heard in a while. At Black Power to Netter Batar. I had no idea what Glenn Beck was. I hadn't heard his name or nothing. So somebody was like, Glenn Beck. They were like, oh, Glenn Beck wrote about the Great Reset. I was like, that's interesting. That's all I can say. But it brought it into the public, brought the subject into the public. And so I felt like, all right, I can probably put some introductory information on the Great Reset on YouTube without getting my entire channel deleted. So that's the option. The object is not to go in depth. Straight Black Pride to Brother Igwe. We're gonna do some very basic introductory information. We will connect some dots. I'll be somewhat limited video wise because the format of the videos that I have are suddenly not compatible with the software that I'm using, that's a situation I hope to rectify, shortly. I It's funny because I've used them before and have had difficulties, but that's before they started upgrading their technology. So, I don't know. It is what it is. We're gonna work our way through it. So, before we get to the actual discussion, I want to talk about what we have on the screen. For those who did not know, uh, I guess that's almost 2 weeks ago now. We had the grand opening for the Straight Black Pride Movement headquarters in in Cheverly, Maryland. It's Prince George's County, Maryland. And so you will be able to go there to purchase products, books, DVDs, immunity care packages, a lot of information from Brother Irritated Genie. Eventually, you'll be able to get some of my DVDs there. What I really want to do is find a black streaming service to be able to put my stuff on. That's something that Sister Cindy is working on, but she has a lot of irons in the fire with that. So we'll see how that goes one way or another. If not, then I'll just go ahead and revert to digital media. And when I do, I had to send something out to Brother You Got Ripped Off because he's been the number one supporter, and it's his born day. So that is that. Um, and the address, if you're in the DC area, is 6490 Landover Road, Suite A1, Cheverly, Maryland, 20785. And in addition to that, because that was the grand opening, in addition to that, this is the current schedule that we have. On Monday nights at 6 p.m., we have the Chopping It Up sessions. Those will most nights, most Mondays, I mean, will be led by Brother Irritated Genie. Um, and if you've been to the Chopping It Ups on, oh, Brother Igwe, Brother Igwe got a born day coming up on the 18th. So y'all wish the brother, yeah, everybody's birthday is this month. I don't know what's going on. I know another brother, his born day is also, well, actually, his born day just passed a couple of days ago. So a couple of brothers. So yeah, I know a few people. Um, Back to what I was saying. Monday nights, the Chopping It Up. If you ever been to Everlasting Life Cafe for the Chopping It Up sessions led by Brother Genie, it'll be the same format. The only difference is a different venue. Wednesdays, there will be book review Wednesdays. I believe Brother Jenny is going to start off with his own book, Warren Horizon: Black Resistance to the Homophile Assault. If you if you don't have that book, I don't know what to tell you. It's definitely a classic. Brother Jenny has been talking about the homophile attack on the black family, the black community. He's been teaching on it for well over 20 years. I'll just put it like that. That's the conservative estimate. The first set of feminization of the black male lectures before they were actually videoed were probably done in the late 90s. The first video was done, I believe, in 2003. So that's nearly 20 years ago just for the first video. So that's how long the brother has been putting in work as far as teaching our people. And also, he was soldiering and doing stuff in the community as well before that with Positive Comedic Visions. So on Friday, there'd be media movie nights. Sometimes it'd be just some interesting movies to enjoy. Other times, be things to study. So that'll be every Friday. And Saturdays, we and I have to ask them, is this free? Because if this is free, then this is really outstanding. But he'll be covering, and he'll be bringing in some other people as well. I may do a class on this. I may do a session, 1 or 2 sessions on this. Zionism and the New World Order. And those sessions are at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, that's at 6490 Landover Road, Cheverly, Maryland, 20785. And it's also the number for more information along the bottom. And you can email Unity at Straight Black Pride for more information. So yeah, we have the new space. Of course, I was one of the people to help redecorate it, and we, in business. In fact, tonight they're having the chopping it up session um, as we speak, and then you know, I believe the Wednesday nights. I believe everything has started, like starts this week. So again, if you're in the Washington D.C. area, these are the times, and this is what Straight Black Pride is doing now. And then there'll be some other programs and things that we'll do after we get these things set up and running. And Brother Netter Patel says, "Do we have anything going on in New York?" Not currently. Um, New York is a city that I definitely want to get up and running. Y'all got a lot of stuff going on up there right now. New York is it's kind of off the hook right now. The different laws. You got a new mayor. You got some wild crime stuff that I'm starting to hear about down here. So y'all definitely need SBPM. I would say I'll let you know if that's something we can get implemented this summer. We have some supporters up there. We have some supporters up there. In fact, they might be listening right now. But so that's a city you definitely would like to uh, get a foothold in for SBPM. So with that, and brother, you got ripped off as putting up my Instagram and stuff. I don't know if y'all can see along the bottom the banner. We have the Instagram, which is dc.radical1. The Twitter is dc_radical_one. The Cash App is $ DC Radical One. Of course, this is a YouTube, capital D, small c Radical One. And the email is dc.radical_one at protonmail.com. And oh yeah, the good brother Desaline, he is in uh, NYC. So let's get on to this discussion unless anybody has any questions. The Great Reset, myth or reality, is what I wanted to call this because, as we know, this is one of those things that has always been called conspiracy, excuse me, theory, and whenever they want to discredit something, right, and make you sound like an imbecile, an idiot, ignoramus, or a lunatic, they just throw the old label of conspiracy theory or conspiracy theorist. Now, we know that many times things that are considered conspiracy theory one day are slowly proven to be true the next day, right? And this is one of those things. It's weird that it's considered conspiracy theory because it's open. It's like this. It's not a hidden thing. That's the thing that's so weird about it. Like, but they talk about it like it's, I actually watch news reports, and they're like, oh, there's wild conspiracy theory, this and this and that. And I'm looking and I'm like, are they serious right now? Are they serious right now? So, what we're going to do, first thing we're going to do, we're going to look at the sources for the information that's going to be put out today. And my goal is to get about to go about hour and a half or so. Um, oh, brother Darren has been talking about it. Yeah, I didn't know that. If I knew he was doing it, I just would have tried to get him to come on and let him talk about it, and I wouldn't have to do any work. Oh man, that's funny. So yeah, great minds think alike. So our sources for this, what I'll call Great Reset 101, or in I guess kind of intro to Great Reset for those that don't know. The truth about COVID, exposing the Great Reset, lockdowns, vaccine passports, and the new normal, which was written by Dr. Joseph Mercola and Ronnie Cummings, and an excellent forward to that book by Robert F. Kennedy. And I believe Robert F. Kennedy has a new book out now called The Real Anthony Fauci. I have not gotten that yet, so I cannot give you a review. I'm currently working on kind of reading three books at the same time right now. It's just one of those things. And then, of course, Klaus Schwab's own COVID-19, The Great Reset, written by Klaus Schwab and Thierry Mallory. Um, and someone named PA said they figured all of this out 2 weeks into the pandemic. Well, you were ahead of most people. The interesting thing is that I mean, I mean, a lot of information is just readily available. The one thing that well, we'll see how it works. The one thing I'm not sure I'll be able to do as much as I want to is deal with the video. For those who know me, know I normally like to have a lot of videos to supplement the information. But my and I think I said that before, but my I'm having difficulties with that right now. So let's get into it. What is the Great Reset? And it says here the Great Reset is an agenda put forth by Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, which calls for the reordering and restructuring of the world's economic, political, and social systems in the wake of the global pandemic. Now, Schwab has actually been talking about this type of making these types of moves before the before the arrival of the pandemic. And if you go back, he has a book called The Fourth Industrial Revolution, where he talks about the new economic and technological order that he sees on the horizon. It's easy to see it when you're helping to organize it. But anyway, so this has kind of been his thing for a while. Um, it says here Schwab announced his plan at the 50th annual World Economic Forum meeting in June of 2020. He also co-authored a book of the same name that we showed the cover of earlier. And in the book, Schwab lays out plans and scenarios for how to move the world forward after the global pandemic. He also uses European history to point out the dangers of making the wrong choices in the wake of the pandemic and lays out the framework for the type of world that he and his colleagues would like to see. And if you're not familiar with the World Economic Forum, and you probably seen it covered on, it depends on type of news channels and stuff you look at. A lot of times what I remember them doing, and this is something I kind of been looking at for a few years now, but it took me a while to connect the dots that's this thing was going by different names and it was all the same thing. The news or sometimes will cover the president going to Davos, right? Or and they'll say, oh, world leaders are meeting at Davos to XYZ. And then that's all they say. And they talk about it, they bring it up, they talk about it every year, and they don't give you any details, and it just goes on. But it's covered publicly. No one's hiding. It's in plain sight, right? The fact that it's in plain sight makes I think is what makes people not investigate it or not look at it or not see what's going on because it's in plain sight. You're like, there's a meeting. There are leaders to the meeting. The thing that's always interesting to me is when I see presidents and former presidents, prime ministers, um, business leaders, all these people in the same place year, and they come to this meeting year after year. The thing that I said to myself was, who is so powerful that they can make the president show up, or at least you have to have a high-ranking government official show up for this event. And then when I started looking at some of the videos and whatnot, and listen to Schwab speak, it was like, okay, the next question is, who is so powerful that not only can they hold the meeting, but they hold court and let people know what we're going to be doing and gives people instructions and homework for the next meeting, right? I had no clue who Schwab was. I hadn't looked into him, right? And what's weird is I seen him on Charlie Rose. Yeah, Charlie Rose program. I seen him on Charlie Rose program a couple of times. Sometimes you just the dots don't connect until you connect the dots, right? So the question, who is Klaus Schwab, right? Says Klaus Schwab is a German engineer and economist who founded the World Economic Forum in 1971. He graduated from the Swiss Institute of Technology with a mechanical engineering degree in 1961. Did I say 1971 for the World Economic Forum? I hope so. If not, I mean, it's on the screen. He then obtained a doctorate in engineering from the same institution. He went on to gain a doctorate in economics from the University of Freiburg and a master's of public administration degree from the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. This is where he met Henry Kissinger while at Harvard, who he describes as his mentor for the last 50 years. Those of you who are familiar with Henry Kissinger, and I don't have him up here, know that he is um, one of the leading experts in geopolitics um, in American history. He's also probably the most influential between him and Brzezinski, the most influential person in foreign policy in at least the last 100 years. Those two, and Brzezinski and Kissinger are they're contemporaries, but I think I can't remember one kind of mentored the other, and I can't remember how that relationship worked. But anyway, Schwab is underneath Kissinger and is part of that unit. Now, I don't know about Schwab, but we know Kissinger is a hat. And I'm pretty sure that Brzezinski was a hat. And so we see that the influence of the hats on this person and thus on the organization that he helped found. We don't have to question that. He states publicly that Kissinger is his and has been a mentor to him for decades. And we know Kissinger's a hat, and he's a staunch Zionist, right? And what's interesting is if you read early in Schwab's book, the Great Reset book, not the Fourth Industrial Revolution book. He talks about one. I mean, it's right in the intro. I think it's like very early in the book. He's sure to talk about the quote unquote oppression of the quote unquote Jewish people. Whenever I see that, that kind of lets me know at least where people's alliances are, and possibly a clue to their ethnicity. I can't be 100% sure on swap, so I just leave it up in the air. So, what we're going to do now is I have a video that I'm going to try to load where it's from the World Economic Forum and it's them talking about what the Great Reset is. So again, you don't have to it won't be me, you know what I'm saying, making up and putting up words, and we're gonna see how this works because I have to do something that I don't um, do something in a way that I don't normally do it, um, because the way I normally do it just refused to work, and I spent a whole hour trying to get it done, much to my dismay. But it is what it is. So we shall see if this works, and y'all will let me know. Hopefully, the audio and everything works. So let's see. And okay, this is gonna be fun. And hopefully this doesn't mess up completely. Let's see. All right, let's try this. No, that ain't it. All right, let's try this again. Huh, hold on, that's not working. All right, all right, hold on. So I take it y'all couldn't hear that. All right, give me a second. Hold on. Let me see. Let me go to the next slide first and deal with the World Economic Forum. Again, like I said, the World Economic Forum was founded by Klaus Schwab in 1971. The World Economic Forum is a conglomeration of the world's largest and most powerful businesses, all of which are helping to further the technocratic agenda alone. They include, but not limited to, Microsoft, which made Bill Gates a billionaire; MasterCard, which is leading the globalist charge to develop digital IDs, which is something we'll get back to in a minute; and banking services; Google, the number one big data collector in the world and a leader in AI services, as well as the foundation started by the world's wealthiest people, such as the Rockefeller Foundation, the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, the Ford Foundation, Bloomberg Philanthropies, and George Soros Open Society Foundation. Now, out of those listed foundations, what do they all have in common except for the Ford Foundation? And anybody that wants to chime in and comment, I give y'all 10. I give y'all about 10 seconds. I think it's about a 10-second delay. But it should. Those of y'all who've been listening to me for a while, and those of y'all who are familiar with my work and Brother Genie's work, It should be obvious. Rockefellers, Bloomberg, Soros. Who else is up there? Well, actually, it's two different Rockefeller foundations, and and the most ironic one of all, the Ford Foundation being lumped in with those. That is, and Brother Crow says hats. Exactly, with the exception of the Ford Foundation, but Mr. Ford's foundation, I'm not sure it's still in the family's hands. So I'm going to exclude him for now, but I'm not really sure. But as you see, so we see that the hat influence within the World Economic Forum is quite obvious, right? We don't have to debate that. Rockefeller, Bloomberg, Soros. Enough said. And Sister Nina, and yeah, everybody got it. Sister Nina. You got Rudolph, Brother Crow. Everybody got it, right? So now we know the type of organization we're looking at, just in case we were confused. Now, Event 201. Event 201 says, while it may be hard to believe, the evidence suggests that the 19 pandemic is anything but accidental. As I review in this chapter of the book, simulations done a mere 10 weeks before the outbreak were eerily similar to the events that played out in the real world. At the same time, technocrats from around the globe were quick to use the pandemic as justification for rolling out plans that had been decades in the making behind the scenes. You can actually find video of Klaus Schwab saying that they would not be able to do some things in regards to the Great Reset if it had not been for the global pandemic. I just found that interesting. You know what I'm saying? I just, all I'm saying is that's interesting that he would say that, and it is what it is. That if you go on YouTube now and you go to World Economic Forum and you if you put in World Economic Forum, no, if you put in Event 201, it comes up. That it will definitely come up on your screen and you can watch it. It's about a 5-minute video. And it will show you their simulation, and they'll talk about what they did and um, how it worked and what they learned. I mean, the whole video is there. Since I'm having trouble bringing it up, I have to describe it to you. Hopefully, if I can get this thing situated, I will come back with a part two and just run the videos. But again, you can look up Event 201. It's so hmm, it's so it's surreal, to see it. When I showed it at one of our events, the look on people's faces was like, what? Because again, we're talking about 10 weeks before this happens. With 10 weeks before, I guess, the official announcement that this global pandemic has taken place. And they've run a simulation on a global pandemic taking place. I'm just saying that's an incredible coincidence. I mean, I don't mean, great planning, incredible coincidence, sheer luck. However you want to, he describe it. It's just, you know what? Let me see if I can find it. You have to, you got to see it to believe it. Hopefully, I can bring this up. Um, it is really, like I said, It's really unbelievable when you see it because when you see that type of video, suddenly the so-called theory becomes actuality. Like it's a great leap, in my opinion, um, for someone to see a video of people planning a pandemic less than 3 months before a pandemic happens, and then to say that you know to say that, hey, this is just a coincidence, or this is there's nothing to see here. I mean, we showed it to you, but it's nothing to see here. And one of the things that, and I think I said this before, but one of the things that I realize is that they don't hide stuff in a conventional way anymore. If you're of a certain age, like, you books will come out like William Cooper's Behold a Pale Horse, or I'm trying to think of another book. There's another book that was dealing with the Federal Reserve, and these books would come out, and they would have these um, photocopied government documents in them, and and some other information that people weren't privy to, and you pretty much kind of had to take it, you know, as it was, because they didn't have video or audio or anything like that. And usually, if they did have something like that, where they had that type of information where they could prove it for sure, then the person mysteriously died. You know, um, I know William Cooper died. I can't remember the circumstances, but some type of weird circumstances. You look at the guy. God, I can't think of his name. Somebody help me out. The one that wrote for the San Jose newspaper, and he wrote about the crack cocaine and the CIA. And it was weird. They made a movie about him, interestingly enough. But I cannot. Gary Webb. Gary Webb wrote Dark Alliance. Right. He mysteriously dies um, from committing suicide by shooting himself in the head twice. That's how things were when I was, I guess, my early 20s. The information that people brought, if people brought stuff and it was verifiable and it was detrimental to the people in charge, that's the type of information they brought. That was the format they brought, and then those are things that happened. Now the people in charge seem to have taken a different tactic. The tactic they seem to have taken is put everything out and then just say that you're misunderstanding the context of the information that is being put out. You see what I'm saying? So they don't deny that they ran a simulation. They tell you they ran a simulation. It's on YouTube. It's on their YouTube channel specifically. It's on their website. They present it like we were worried about this. We had the foresight to see that this was something that could happen. We ran different scenarios. We learned from it, and it helped us be more prepared for what happened. That's how they that's how it's presented, right? Now, that's conceivable, right? That's conceivable, but it's not really believable. You know what I'm saying? I'm not denying that that's a possibility. I'm saying, man, I don't really believe in those type of coincidences from the people who run the world. But what's so interesting, if you go to the World Economic Forum website, they have I mean, there's so much information there. It's so much information there. And they literally just say, um, they're like, yeah, we're doing this. And we know that people are concerned about, rich people coming together and planning and doing X, Y, Z. And we understand that. but no, we're doing things for your best interest. Like that's literally that's literally, and they have these beautiful professional productions and all this stuff. And that's literally what you see. And so I guess the theory is if you tell somebody this stuff and then they go see it and they go see that, they're like, man, what are you talking about? They admitted all the stuff. Yeah, I know they admitted all the stuff. But it's the context. And the context they're putting it in and the context that you should put it in aren't the same thing. So, uh, next slide. Now, this is from the Truth About COVID book. And it says October 2019, just 10 weeks before the COVID-19 outbreak first began in Wuhan, China, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation co-hosted a pandemic preparedness simulation of a novel coronavirus. No, um, simulation of a novel coronavirus known as Event 201, along with the Johns Hopkins Centers for Health Security and the World Economic Forum. This includes now listen to this part, right? This included everything that has since played out in the real world, from PPE shortages to lockdowns to censorship and the removal of civil liberties to mandated vaccines, campaigns, riots, economic turmoil, and the breakdown of social cohesion. Just as in real life, quote unquote, misinformation, they say it would need to be countered, including rumors that the virus had been created in a lab and released, had been created and released from a bioweapons lab, and questions surrounding the origin of the virus. Right? Look, I'm not a millionaire. I don't hang out with other millionaires. I know their organizational skills are immaculate. The idea that people could randomly um, run simulation for an event, the event happens to randomly occur 10 weeks later, and all the scenarios that you've played out magically happen from your simulation just randomly is what they want us to believe. I'm not saying anything. I'm reading from page 38 of the book. But when we look at it and we look at the type of people that's sitting at the table, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, right? Bill Gates in 2009 started a project called the Decade of Vaccines, and you can go to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation website and find this. And it's either '09 or 2010, and they talked about how they would work on vaccine development, and they named the type of people that they would have in leadership of this project. I'll give y'all one guess to who was one of the top two names in the leadership of the vaccine development project for the Gates Foundation. And I'll give y'all 10 seconds. You know, run the Jeopardy clock. Do, 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 do. Y'all know how it goes. Don't everybody answer at once. And again, when you see these things, it's kind of hard to dismiss what you see. Nobody, no guesses. I know you got ripped off, no, because I think he saw that. Think you saw that presentation. No, nobody. All right, I'll get back to that later. I'll answer it later. The video might be running slow, so now this was interesting. World Economic Forum plans for the year 2030. And it says a glimpse into this future was offered in the November 2016 Forbes article written by Ida Alkin from the World Economic Forum strategy team. And it says, welcome to the year 2030. Welcome to my city, or should I say, our city. Says, I don't own anything. I don't own a car. I don't own a house. I don't own any appliances or any clothes. Everything you considered a product has now become a service. In our city, we don't pay any rent because someone else is using our free space whenever we do not need it. My living room is used for business meetings when I am not there. Once in a while, I get annoyed about the fact that I have no real privacy. Nowhere I can go and not be registered. I know that somewhere everything I do, think, and dream of is recorded. I just hope nobody will use it against me. All in all, this, oh, it is a good life. Again, that's from um, the World Economic Forum 2016 Forbes magazine article written by Ida Alkin. Now, it's 2022. Like, so this is, they see happening. This is part of the Great Reset. This is part of what they see happening in a few years. And Klaus Schwab said these types of things wouldn't be possible without the pandemic occurring. But let's look and analyze what is here and see how that's possible from where we are now standing. What they're presenting is a complete and total reordering, restructuring, rearranging of societies globally, tearing down what currently exists and remaking it in this image that we see here. When Now here's the thing, they did the practice run. Brother, you got Rich all said Black Mirror episode 1 Million Marriage give you a good picture of what the future looks like. I have not. Is Let me know what streaming service that's on. I've never seen that show. I heard people talk about it, I've never seen it. But they did. If we really think about it, they did a practice run of this. When they do the practice run? The practice run was during the pandemic when you couldn't go nowhere. Right? You couldn't go nowhere. If you had family members, because you couldn't go nowhere, suddenly your family members you're around each other more all the time. Netflix. All right, thank you, brother. Your living room did become the business center, right? Because of Zoom. Because of Zoom, and you couldn't go to work, so you went to work. You just went from many people. Some people in reality never left their bed, but that's a whole nother story. You went from your bedroom to your living room or your computer room or your garage, whatever room you had available. And that became your workspace, right? Your children were either in their room or your room or the basement or wherever. That's where they went to school. And if you have a two-parent household and both parents are working, quote unquote, from uh, working from home, then that means the wife, she has to go to, maybe she stays in the bedroom. Well, you get the scenario. And so that is like a dry run, those months of lockdown, similar to this. And remember, she says we do not pay any rent. Remember, there was a moratorium on rent where you technically didn't have to pay rent at the time. Of course, the bill would come due, but you understand what I'm saying. Brother, you got ripped off says the entire series is dedicated to the Great Reset for Industrial Revolution. Facebook's metaverse is perfectly mimicked in episode San Junipero. Yeah, I do not have Netflix. I got rid of that a while ago, but I might have to borrow someone else's, you know, because that sounds interesting. And but that, you just made me think about something, brother. I'm glad you said that. That's also part of the strategy is to put those types of things out in not only for them to just speak publicly about it, but then also put it in some type of fiction format, whether it's movie or series or whatever the case may be. And then as soon as you talk about it, what's the first thing somebody that doesn't know what you're talking about says? First thing they say is, "Oh man, you got that from that movie. You got that from that TV show, or that sounds just like that TV show." And of course, we know that's something they've been doing for years. I always use the example of Star Trek and talking to my grandmother, and you know, the communicator is a cell phone thing. They literally, you go look at the original Star Trek from the '60s, right? Captain Kirk flips open the communicator like a flip phone, adjusts some knobs, and starts talking to somebody miles away. You know, that was I'm not sure what year Star Trek came out. Sometime in the mid '60s, I know. And now, I mean, what was the first flip phone that we saw? What, the '90s maybe? So, you know, didn't take long. Brother Eatways, let me know how I can get that. Appreciate it. So that, I mean, then everything that's being hidden is hidden in plain sight. So, um, Event 201 and the need for censorship. Let's go over this real quick. It says Event 201 planners spent a great deal of time discussing ways to limit quote unquote misinformation about the pandemic and subsequent vaccines. In addition to outright censoring of certain views, Event 201 introduced a plan that included the use of quote unquote soft power, a term referring to stealth influencing. This strategy includes using celebrities and social media influencers to model ideal behavior and promote adherence to the pandemic response edicts. Take, for example, Tom Cruise and his wife Rita Wilson, both of whom reportedly tested positive early on in the pandemic. They dutifully modeled the desired behavior, getting tested, self quarantining, and submitting to continued observation for as long as necessary to ensure that they didn't spread it to anyone else and shared their every step on social media and traditional media platforms. When I did this before, I showed the um, Vax, that Vax that you know what up commercial that uh, and Misanthrope says not that difficult to manipulate the masses. Indeed. Uh, the Vax that thing up video. And y'all seen that right from Juvenile a while back. You know, and I just put it in there so people could see. At the time when I put it in there, nobody had saw it. And it just goes to show it goes to show what they think of us, because the way that the type of propaganda and stuff that they put in front of our people, or they target for our people, is so, you can tell they look at us like children. You, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, it's not put now to, according to them, it says thank you for the information you provided. Oh, thank you very much. According to them, this is a very serious matter that is life or death. Right? It's a very serious matter that's life or death. So let's present it to their community with some rappers. Right? I mean, did you see any I don't know, 90s grunge bands, say making commercials just for the white community? I don't know, because I'm not part of that community. So it's possible that happened and it slipped past me. I'm just saying. I'm saying it's possible. But I'm saying the same way they backs that thing up. I need to see if I can find that. The same way they gave us that is the same way that they gave us Get Your Booty to the Pole. Remember that disaster? And it just shows the way that these people think about us, the way they present information to us. The way you present information to a child and the way you present information to an adult is totally different. What you now, at least now I'm older, so things have changed. But the way information was presented to me in first grade was different from the way it was presented to me in sixth grade, which was different from the way it was presented in ninth grade, which was definitely different from the way it was presented in college. Right? And weirdly enough, when I started attending lectures and things by our great scholars, the way they presented it was different from the way that every European institution that I attended presented it. And Misanthrope says, interestingly, those in control speak to the mindless masses, and they in turn become the Gestapo to control the holdouts. Uh, oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And see, I'm glad you said that. What happens is the the fear is pumped, right? And this is a I've never seen any situation in my life, and I'm well over 40 now, where global fear gripped everybody since the days of, the closest thing I can think of, and this is not even compatible, was the fear of nuclear war between the United States and the Soviet Union in the 80s. That fear is still not nowhere near as palpable as the fear that um, the pandemic, you know. And like you said, that fear was used to, not only because the way things were presented was, it wasn't presented as a choice. Hey, you do what's right for you and your health, and I'll do what's right for me and my health. Things were presented as, if you don't do what I do, then what I do don't matter, because what I do got to work for you, and what you do got to work for me. Right? That's how it was presented. And the effect was to make, it causes a breakdown and your social structure. Now, if you notice this whole situation, breaking down the social structure and the social bonds between people was either a residual effect or the intended effect. Choice is yours to interpret it how you will, right? Everything about that situation broke down social structure. Before the jab, right? You really couldn't go anywhere. So you weren't socializing. You wasn't going out, you wasn't going out to the club. You wasn't going out to the bar for Europeans because that's what they do. That's their thing, the bar. You weren't going to the movies. You weren't going to concerts. You weren't going to church. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, people were doing church online. Yeah, people weren't doing their religious worship. Oh, I don't like. I'm trying to think. Was the laundromat open? I mean, I don't even know, but um, like all the ways that, or all the places that people go to interact were shut down. Then some of the stuff was open, but you had to wear a mask. Then you had to take the jab, depending on where you were going and then what city you were in. So if you're in New York, like, you know, it's papers, please time, like it's 1942 or 1862, right? It's papers, please. Um, it's funny. I was thinking about going to the movies today, and then I realized I was like, oh, I got to go to Virginia or Maryland. I can't just go to the movies. Um, you know what I'm saying? Around the corner or whatever. Because, you know, papers, please. And I didn't know that was still in effect. Just was like, oh man, let me catch this. Let me catch this movie before it goes out of theaters. That didn't happen. you know, I didn't feel like going out to Virginia. I just did. Let's see. It says, did any of those in fear sit and reflect about this pandemic having the same symptoms as the flu? Did anyone think about the nonsense that one can have it with no symptoms? The whole symptom thing, man, it made things interesting. That's all I'm gonna say. I I'm not. That's all. That's all I'm gonna say. I have no comment. We've been over that, and hey, people can believe what they want to believe. But the end game was twofold: break down the social structure, get as many people to take the jab as possible. And Brother Pro said the liquor stores was open. Yeah, hey, I'll just be honest. If in America, and a situation like that with people under pressure and stress, if they cannot get inebriated, you gonna have to call. It's a problem. it's gonna be. It's so crazy. Oh man, what was Dick? I think Dick Gregory was talking about one time. I don't know if he was talking about cigarettes, alcohol, maybe all of the above. He was saying they took that stuff away. You know, the whole country would fall apart in essence. I just, I look at it like this: our people tend to act, tend to not be functional with those things. Other people tend to need those things to be functional. Y'all take it with, make of it what you will, right? Let's go to the next slide. Wait a minute. Hold on. I did that one. My bad. Says who's in charge, excuse me, of determining what's true. And Eastwood Henderson said liquor and gun shops remain open in Georgia. Oh, I can just, if liquor and gun shops were open, I'm surprised Atlanta is still standing. I did not know that. That that's interesting. Those are two things that don't go together at all. It says the UN verified campaign is reminiscent of another self-appointed internet watchdog, NewsGuard. This is from page 41 of Truth About COVID book. It says, which claims to rate information as quote unquote reliable or quote unquote fake news, supplying you with an authoritative color coded ratings badge next to Google and Bing searches, as well as articles on social media. If you rely on NewsGuard's ratings, you may decide to entirely skip articles from sources with a low red rating in favor of the so called more trustworthy green rated articles, and therein lies the problem. NewsGuard is in itself fraught with conflict of interest as it is largely funded by Publicis, a global communications giant partnered with Big Pharma. Um, yes, to your question, sister. So when I read this book, this was a part that was interesting because it's one thing to see stuff and you like, ah man, I see something that's kind of weird. Why does this? Anybody that follows me on my Instagram know that for months on end, I would post stuff and I would get that automatic for more information about XYZ. Go to the CDC website. You know, when I didn't get stuff taken down, but definitely you always automatically got that notification. And of course, here on YouTube, if you've been following me for a while and you're wondering why I don't post all the time, it's because when I do, it's taken down. And like I said at the beginning, I still have, and I forgot until I saw it, a medical information misinformation strike. Now, here's what's interesting about that: the medical misinformation strike that they gave me was for a commercial for one of Brother Genie's lectures in May. So the commercial probably came out in April. I probably posted it in April. I can't remember. They gave me the strike in November after after I covered the Brothers of the DMV um, vaccine mandate rally here in Washington D.C. So they didn't give me for that. Again, I covered that in essence as a journalist, you know. And right after that came out, where various speakers were there, brother, of course, brother JD was there, and the Minister of Wellness as well. Right after that, they gave me a strike for something else. So that just goes to show how it works. And this one, hold up, let me see, is this the right one? No, right. I think, I guess the order doesn't matter. It says Bill Gates and Population Control Grid. It says, as investigative journalist James Corbett points out in the Corbett Report segment titled Bill Gates and Population Control Grid, it should be no surprise then that big pharma vaccine manufacturers in their scramble to produce the vid vaccine Gates assures us is necessary to go back to normal, have turned to a novel vaccine delivery method, a dissolvable microneedle array patch. As in many other aspects of the unfolding crisis, Gates' unscientific pronouncement that we will need digital certificates to prove our immunity in the new normal of the post pandemic world is now being implemented by a couple of governments. Right? And we're going to read the next one and then we're going to see what that sounds like. It says in December 2020, International Monetary Fund presented a plan to the people's to tie people's credit scores to their internet search histories. Says the ID control grid is an essential part of the digitization of the economy. And although this is being sold as an opportunity for quote unquote financial inclusion of the world's poorest in the banking system provided by the likes of Gates and his banking and business associates, It is, in fact, a system of financial exclusion. Exclusion of any person or transaction that does not have the approval of the government or the payment providers. The government, the different parts of this population control grid fit together like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. Excuse me. The VAX drive ties into the biometric identity drive, which ties into the cashless society drive. In Gates' vision, everyone will receive the government mandated jab, and everyone will have their biometric details recorded in a nationally administered, globally integrated digital IDs. These digital identifications will be tied to all of our actions and transactions, and if and when you are deemed illegal, they are simply shut off by the government or even the payment providers themselves. When I did the presentation before, I compared this system to um, the movie. I think the name of the movie was Timeless with what's that kid's name? Um, the singer, white R&B singer. I can't think of his name. Justin Timberlake. In the movie, right? Everyone they used their currency they used was time. And if I remember correctly, because it's been a while since I've seen the movie, they had the information for how much time they had left in their arm. So if you wanted to catch, let's say you catch a bus, you know, you put your arm on the scanner and it would, let's say, take 5 minutes off of your time, right? And then you went to work, you got time added on to your, you know, you scanned it when they paid you, and it added to it, right? Timeless. Thank you, brother. And I remember when I saw that movie, I was like, that's crazy. You know, I was like, wow, that's a society I wouldn't want to be a part of. And it's interesting because they showed, I believe, his mother. She ran out of time. I can't remember the circumstances, and so she just died. Like she looked perfectly healthy, for a European female. She was not like elderly, like when like she was 80 years old. The actress probably was in her 50s that played the character, and she ran out of time. She died right there, and it just that was part of their system. You ran out of time. You ran out of time, and when I saw this information in the book, I'm like, oh, they already showed you how this works. That movie is literally what this is, right? And see, that is that is the question. When is the end of the pandemic? Is an excellent question. And then because I saw an interview, and I don't. That's one I don't happen to have at all. I didn't save it, but I saw an interview with Gates, and he said we will not get back to normal until everyone, right, is jabbed. He didn't say everyone in Colorado or even everyone in the United States or even everyone in North America. He said everyone, right? And Sister said this despite Supreme Court blocking OSHA. Right, right, right. Now, when Mr. Biden, when he tried to do what he tried to do, which was illegal, and deemed as such, like the sister's pointing out by the Supreme Court, you know, they'll. I mean, I'll put it like this: they haven't given up. If you know about Biden, you know who he's loyal to, and I'm pretty sure that I have talked about that before. But if I haven't, Maybe I can find that one and load that up. Very disappointed with the like video. Oh, yeah. Oh, let's see. Ding, 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 ding. Keep that on deck for later. Let's just say that Mr. If you, in fact, if you saw the Dr. Khaled lecture, I played that clip of Mr. Biden and who his allegiance is with, and it's not with black people. I'm sorry, black people. Just letting you know. You know what I'm saying? He did not publicly state that he's with black people. I'm just saying. Let's see. And the sister said the justices did allow for mandates by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services for healthcare workers, right? And that is wait a minute. Oh, who work at some 76,000 federally funded facilities. I wonder how many people that affected because if it's 76,000 different facilities, that means, whew, yeah, that means millions of people were affected by that. I forgot about that part. So I just wanted to stop that part there. And I wanted to read from a page from Schwab's book, a couple of different pages from Schwab's book that I found very interesting. And you know what? Let's see. And let's see. Part of it he talks about what we're currently having, which is massive inflation. And I'm trying to see if I can find um, part without just getting long winded because he really goes into a lot of detail with a lot of detail with history and things like that. But okay, in addition to that, he talks about the U.S. dollar, which is interesting. I'm gonna read this part about the U.S. dollar. This is from Schwab's Great Reset book. It says the fate of the U.S. dollar. It says for decades the U.S. has enjoyed the exorbitant privilege of retaining the global currency reserve, a status that has long been a perk of imperial might and an economic elixir. To a considerable extent, American power and prosperity have been built and reinforced by the global trust in the dollar and the willingness of customers abroad to hold it, most often in the form of government bonds. The fact that so many countries and foreign institutions want to hold dollars as a store of value and as an instrument of exchange for trade has anchored its status as the global reserve currency. This has enabled the US to borrow cheaply abroad and benefit from low interest rates at home, which in turn has allowed Americans to consume beyond their means. It has also meant large recent government deficits possible, permitted the US to run substantial trade deficits, reduced the exchange rate risk, and made the US financial markets more liquid. At the core of the US dollar status as a reserve currency lies a critical issue of trust, excuse me. Non-Americans who hold dollars trust that the United States will protect both its own interests by managing sensibly its economy and the rest of the world as far as the US dollar is concerned by managing sensibly its currency by providing dollar liquidity to global financial system efficiently. For quite some time, some analysts and policymakers have been considering a possible and progressive end to the dominance of the dollar. They now think that the pandemic might be the catalyst to prove them right. Their argument is twofold. On one hand, managing the economy sensibly, doubters of U.S. dollar dominance point to the inevitable and sharp deterioration of the U.S. fiscal position. In their mind, unsustainable levels of debt. The United States is currently $27 trillion in debt. The last time I checked. Y'all know if it's more, let me know. Just prior to the pandemic, U.S. defense spending plus interest on the federal debt plus annual entitlement payments, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security represented 112% of federal tax receipts versus 95 in 2017. This unsustainable path will worsen in the post pandemic, post bailout era. This argument suggests that something major will therefore have to change either to much reduced geopolitical role, or higher taxation, or both. Otherwise, a rising deficit will reach a threshold beyond which non US investors are unwilling to fund. After all, the status of reserve currency cannot last longer than foreign confidence in the ability of the holder to honor its payments. Right? Now, what is he saying? He's saying that there's a very real threat that at some point in the near future, the dollar will no longer be the reserve currency. And this will change the United States status as the leading country in the world. Right? And he goes on to give some another a prediction on the opposite end. All right, but I don't want to get into all that. Here's what people who, those of us who are in America and those who are Americans need to think about that part of his book written by Schwab. That's from his Great Reset book. When I read that, what I see is a person planning for the change in global power from the the nation state known as the United States of America to a more global system. Because later on, he goes on to talk about a global digital currency, which I believe something that Gates has talked about as well. So that obviously this is something that's on the table of the World Economic Forum. If if you get a global digital currency, that means that you have some type of way where you're going to have to eliminate the competition, i.e., Bitcoin and Ethereum and those things. How they would go about doing that, I have no idea. But I don't see how you can make a global digital currency without removing the competition. Again, I'm just reading the book and making my interpretation to what the book says. The reason that matters to us is because we're here and we see, if you're really paying attention, you're watching a slow, actually not a slow, we're watching the decay of America as we speak, right? If you don't believe me, go to your grocery store. Go to the gas station. I believe I saw an article that said that inflation is like 7%. Okay, the last time I heard anything like that, I was a small child, right? And I was a small child, and my grandmother was watching Reagan debate Jimmy Carter. Don't ask me how I remember that, but my grandmother, she liked Jimmy Carter. You know, and Brother Crow says yes, it's 7%, right? And Brother, you got ripped off says they've been stealing natural resources, i.e., electricity, to data mine crypto, right? So what I'm saying is, Again, I was a small child. I'm middle aged now. Anyone younger than me doesn't remember, like, there are some movies where um I'm trying to think. I guess movies from the 70s or the 80s that will show the gas lines. I don't remember that. So I don't know. I know it was in the 70s, but I don't remember. I just wasn't old enough. I don't remember it. Like I wouldn't. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know what year it was, but yeah, there was time. Just to tell you how quickly things can change. There was a time when the New York City was bankrupt, right? New York City was bankrupt in the last 50 years. Yeah, I mean, so now we out whatever illusion of the invulnerability of the United States, we should be disabusing ourselves of that illusion as we speak. And brother, you got ripped off stage. I'm pretty sure everyone here remembers $1 gas. You want to know what's so funny, brother? I had a neighbor back in right around, I guess it was right around when Bush got elected. He had bought a Hummer. You remember when the Hummers first came out, Humvee, and he had it, and the thing couldn't even fit. Couldn't even fit in his garage, right? So you would see it, when it's out there. And he had bought it, obviously doing well, you know. And then I guess it must have been right around the war, and the gas just went way up. And next thing you know, every time I went past his house, that Humvee was right there because he couldn't afford to drive it anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that has it, anyone that has a big vehicle now, I mean, SUVs or whatever, you're hurting. I don't know what the gas is in, like, I don't know what the gas is in California. Their gas is always more. It's here, it's over 360. Like we're almost to the point where it's double what it was when Mr. Trump was in office. That's just an observation. That's not an endorsement of anyone because both parties are beholden to the hats. Um, and Miss Anthrop says it's 455 in some places in California and 479 in other places, which is shocking because I thought it'd be even more. And Brother Crow says right now on average 475. So you talking about $5 in a place where you have to drive. Like you have, anybody that have been to California or you from California, you have to drive, right? It's not like the East Coast where the cities were really set up with mass transit and things like that. You have to drive on the West Coast. Talk about $5, man. Oh, Sister Nina says she got a little car, and you know that $5 mark is around the corner. I mean, think about it. What is minimum wage? Somebody help me out. It was minimum wage seven. Is minimum wage $7? I don't know, but I mean, you got some people I'm sure who they spending a good portion of their check going to work and coming back. I was saying the federal minimum wage because the federal minimum now, yeah, the federal minimum wage I'm pretty sure is under 15. Uh, and Eastwood says 7.25 in Georgia. So if it's 7.25 in Georgia, then that means that's the that's the floor of the federal. But we get the point. And with that being said, the conditions that we see, there are to the main point of the intro to the Great Reset. There are people that we know who are publicly planning to alter the entire world and reshape it in the image that they see fit and publicly talking about it while engineering. Let's think about it. But every time I think about it, it just blows my mind. These people, in essence, not literally, figuratively, pressed a button and stopped the global economy after running a simulation to make sure, you know, to try to prepare for every scenario. And if you read Schwab's writings, he runs through different scenarios. And he's like, if this happens, then this will probably happen, and this will probably happen, and this will probably happen. On the other hand, if this happens, then this will happen, and this will happen. Which path shall we take? That's how he writes the COVID book. The leading business people, government people, so forth, so on, have a think tank that determines the future of everyone on planet Earth. And no one is concerned in any way, shape, or form. How is that? Let's think about this. How is that? Here in America, everybody in America loves freedom. How free are you? How is that freedom? Somebody made a decision to do something and stop the entire world economy. Like literally, if we're being honest, literally the presidential election for the United States of America largely turned on the simple fact that in an election year, the economy was turned off. Just think about that. Somebody turned off the economy in an election year. What it was it George Bush Sr. said that's the economy stupid? Right? It's always it. In America, it's always the economy. Except, that $2 gas that we were enjoying, we needed because we weren't going nowhere for 3 months. And then time everything in, it's time to vote. And if you were one of the people from like hospitality or certain industries like that basically disappeared, you were not happy. Forget your job disappearing, your industry disappeared. You're on the internet trying to learn a new skill. And then there were those who had to go to work. And there were bills that were supposed to be written that were supposed to um there were bills that were written that were supposed to help people, the first responders, and how great they were, and we're gonna give you extra money and this and this and that, and none of that stuff ever happened. I'm just saying. Nobody benefit. Brother, you got ripped off saying gravitate towards another strike. I know. I'll probably get it right after the other one ends. Unless unless somebody happened to be watching it, they like, you know what? They just lucky I couldn't get the videos loaded up. I had like 5. But I was like, you know, I'm like, okay, this is not gonna work, but I'm gonna do the show anyway. But I mean, it sounds like conspiracy theory. It sounds like the readings of a madman. Except I seen the video. I've watched I've watched Swab. I've been watching his stuff and going to their website and looking at other people connected with it. And of course I had already been looking at Gates and you know, I've been watching this stuff for a while now. And no one's hiding. This stuff is real. You know, I haven't even I've because it's not part of what I wanted to discuss, and I'm going way past my time. I ain't realized, which means if I had the video, it'd really be past my time. Like I'm not even going to discuss some of the other stuff. I just want people to test. Open your eyes, take a look at it. That's why I wanted to do this after the Super Bowl. Super Bowl's over. We all had fun. We enjoyed Dr. Dre and Snoop and all them. You know, and back to reality. And Misanthrope says in 2006, a professor, Eric Pianka, not an elite shot caller, stated that in order to save the planet, you had to kill off 90% of people. I mean, Bill Gates he's been a public advocate for, put it in quotes, population control for, I don't know how long. And his father was a eugenicist. His father was part of Planned Parenthood. He doesn't deny that. You can find the videos on that. The difference is, this is the difference for any non-African people who will come across this. This is the first time, to my knowledge, that the people in charge view us and you the same way. That's the difference. The Great Reset, those in charge view everybody else as the same. The Hebrew or Yiddish term, whichever one it is goyim. It means cattle. Non-Zionists are cattle. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that's the terminology that's used for those that don't know. So if I wasn't getting a strike, I just got the strike. But again, no one can deny that these are the terms that's used. And the sister said, you made a point and I missed it. And Sister Nina said, no, we didn't all have fun enjoying that degenerate and quote unquote entertainment. Sister had a point. You had something because you had a lot of quotes, but it was something that you said. Oh, you said this receiver received a standing ovation from students. Why? Because they do not think it will be them or their loved ones. Exactly. Because they don't think they're going. they, you know, it's all, yeah. Let it look. Let me be honest. I'm talking to the other folks that haven't listened. You all have enjoyed here in America being above all non-white people. Hey, it is what it is. That status won't help you in this upcoming Great Reset. That's what I want you all to know. when they finish pulling the levers of this economic system and working to and get their plan moving along to collapse American society, the soldiers that are taking orders for the most part won't differentiate by race. When the gas is $6 and the stores are completely empty, the lines for food may be shorter where you live, but they'll still exist. This is the one time where we're all in the same boat. And those in charge want to put as many holes in that boat as they can and sink everybody that's in it. I'm just saying. BB48 to a BB48, man. Um, right, right. So I'm just putting that out there. Some of them understand. Some of them they don't they don't like Gates. They don't like Fauci. They're learning about Schwab and they don't like him. I had somebody come on Instagram and be like, hey, and they didn't appear to be African, and they were like, yeah, that I forgot what they said, something like that SOB or something. The names are public. You know, everybody knows the Rockefellers, and you can go on and on and on. And the thing about the internet, you can look people up, and you can even look up what they look like. But, and I'll say this before I go, the reason that in order for this plan to be implemented, America either has to be before they to Sister Panessa. America either has to be completely re-engineered or destroyed is because this is the one place built on one. It's one of the most hyper nationalist places on earth. Two, it's the most citizenry got to be the most armed of anywhere on earth. I can't think of it, unless it's some little tiny country somewhere. Nobody has more guns than America, right? So that nationalism and the gun culture are the thing that stops a lot of things from happening to America in the world. However, if I can get people to take something that will degenerate their health over time, I ain't got to worry about them shooting me because they're going to be sick and die and they'll never know why. Again, just putting that on the table because we're dealing with people who every year come together to plan out the future and they give it fancy names like the fourth industrial revolution and the great reset. You know, they repackage, you know, back in the day, the old New World Order. So we're in a time where the information is coming out, the enemies of the people, in this case, of all people, you know, are organized, well financed, extremely intelligent, and devious. The people are disorganized, disunited, and extremely foolish. Not necessarily of their own volition, but because of how the educational system and other systems, including entertainment, have worked. And Brother Crow said, "Yeah, Daddy Bush told us about that New World Order. Yeah, he again stated publicly." So the question is now, and then I'll be ready to go. I'll be off at 10. The question is, how can black people survive? And maybe I do that for you know what? Maybe I do that for a different show. How can black people survive the Great Reset? And the answer to how we can survive, I will always go back to Dr. Khaled and his quote: "We must resist to exist. Whatever our enemies, whether they be hats or uh, Asians, Eurasians, Western Asians, Western Israelis, whomsoever, whatever titles that people want to take, you want to give them. Because Europe's not a continent, by the way. In order for us to survive whatever onslaught they have, we must resist to exist." And brother, you got ripped off said, and Kwame Ture said, "We must organize, organize, organize." One thing that we saw from what we talked about earlier, what his sister talked about with the Supreme Court, the resistance, right? People resisting, the people that resisted benefited. Now, the question for that is going to be, how many lawsuits are going to be held for people that lost their employment? Because I actually know people that lost their employment behind that, right? But resisting is always the proper move when tyranny and oppression are in play. Because the thing about the people that's in charge is they want to do things as efficiently, as possible. And so people resisting makes things inefficient, right? So you pull different mechanisms and levers, most of the time economic, in order to get people to do stuff. I know people who regret their decision to get jabbed because, in the grand scheme of things, their employment was on the line, but in the end, it wasn't on the line. And I'll be perfectly candid. I was previously in that boat, but I was going to resist. Man, you like, and what if something happened? Then I was going to have to figure it out. It is what it is. Sister Mr. Throp says, "What if most black people want to hold onto the system even at their own detriment?" Well, we've been dealing with that for a long time. We've been dealing with that since slavery. We had people that absolutely, even if they had the opportunity to run away, would. Those who know have to organize with those who know before worrying about those who don't. Sounds terrible because you might be married for somebody that want to hold on to the system. I mean, this thing has split people, whole households up, everything. But those who know have to organize with those who don't. Before then, straight black pride to brother Elijah. I did not tag you in the Instagram, brother. My apologies. I forgot. You'll be able to watch the replay. But to your question, sister, yeah, those who know have to organize and build things and do things before those who don't. She says, "Come to California, and the masses of couples are with anyone except a black person." Yeah, it's got to leave them on there. You know, got to leave them. What the Nation of Islam lessons you say, let them die in their own iniquity. So, oh yeah, real quick, you must be reading my mind. The Dr. Khaled lecture, for those who paid, I will be opening up the link for that tomorrow for 72 hours or so. So if you already paid, you watch the lecture, you'll be able to watch it again for the next few days. For those who haven't paid, in honor of Black History Month, um, Cash App me. Yeah, what y'all think is a good price? The people who paid and watched it live, y'all set the price for the other people. Bro, you got ripped off. Um, I can't remember everybody that did, but y'all let me know what the price the other people should pay to be able to rewatch it. Has it been a month? A month later. Also, that reminds me quickly. Mark it down. I'll have the flyer next week, hopefully. March 19th, we're gonna have Dr. Uh, Francis Cress Wilson Day. March 19th you know, at 6490 Landover Road. B48, man, say $10, 50% off. And oh, you got ripped off. Said, okay, all right, cool. Okay, so anybody that's interested, $10. I'm gonna put that on. You got ripped off. Remind me. Put that on. I'm gonna announce that tomorrow on Instagram. $10 to watch the live footage, unedited replay. I think we get started probably about half an hour into the video. I had to watch it again. Brother, you got ripped off. Said that he said that's the best thing that he's seen me do. I don't know. I can't remember what BB48 man said. Maybe I can get him to. Maybe I can get him to. Um, Somebody said free. Who said free? Uh, Eastwood talking about free. Okay, if I put that one up free, it, they'll definitely take down the whole channel. Cause I accidentally left it up for a few hours afterwards, um, public, and a lot of y'all watched it for free already. Whoever you were, um, and sister said something. Oh, talk about yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't get me started on that. All right, so $10. Yeah, what you talking about with that organization and who's allowed to speak at the rostrum? That's it's been kind of the thing for a minute. Almost since the whole that's almost been a whole post Dr. Khaled era, but it is what it is. But that will cover our intro to the Great Reset. I thank you all for listening. Again, I thank everybody that subscribes to the channel. This, of course, is your host, DC Radical One. Follow me on Instagram, DC.radical1. Twitter, DC underscore radical underscore ONE. Go to OTW Tube and follow me at DC Radical One. The Cash App is $ DC Radical One. This is a YouTube, capital D, small C Radical One. And the email is capital D, DC.radical underscore one at protonmail.com. And I will make that announcement. I gotta see if I can, see if I got everybody's email who purchased tickets and let them know as well. Because somebody sent me an email, and I just saw it recently asking that question. But that's what I'm gonna do in honor of Black Love Day, Black History Month, and your fellow supporters, giving y'all 50% off. And Tila Nubian comes in at the end and says peace. So I appreciate you all. Y'all let me know if y'all like these Monday nights. Only thing they kind of clash with what we're doing at SBPM. But unfortunately, this is one of the few times that I had free now. My schedule is crazy. But we'll talk about that another time. So I thank you all for listening. Thank you all for subscribing. I thank you all for liking. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. Again, this is your brother DC Radical One. And with that, I say a BB for ODA and straight black pride.